Insults are an attempt to hurt or degrade another person through pointing out faults that are real or imagined. Sometimes insults are accompanied by profanity, and sometimes they aren't. But in both cases, the insult is meant to be a weapon cutting to the heart and the character of the person being insulted. What usually happens is the one hurling the insult is the one who is degraded, even while the other person's feelings may or may not be hurt. In families, there are a lot of fights and tensions and disagreements, and quite a few insults, unfortunately, exchanged between family members. Siblings, brothers and sisters often have bickering arguments that go on for years, and countless insults are hurled back and forth. Sometimes parents insult children and children insult parents, and spouses many times in arguments hurl insults back and forth at one another. All of these insults weaken the fabric of family life. What's needed is the capacity to fight fair, to express intense emotions without attempting to degrade the other person that we actually quite often love very dearly. Now, there's a classic example of this in the recent episode of Alec Baldwin, when he became very upset with his daughter and left a very nasty message on her answering machine. The first part of the message is understandable. He's hurt and he's angry, and he explains to his child why he always would stop whatever he was doing to make that all-important phone call for him. And she didn't have her cell phone turned on. He took that as an insult to him. Now that is fine. The parent expressing feelings very intense, very deep, very personal. But then he slips into profanity in describing how it made him feel. And once we go into the area of profanity, things generally are all downhill from there. And that's the case here. He not only attacks his daughter's behavior, which parents have to do when a child acts and behaves in a wrong fashion, but he turns on her very person. And he becomes vulgar in his expression of how he is going to discipline her, and also he reverts to very crude name-calling, while accusing the daughter that he actually no doubt loves of being rude. He himself is extremely rude. The names he called her certainly would be cutting to any young girl, and no doubt hearing them from her father, it had to hurt. Now, I come from a rough and tough family background. My parents were married for 54 years. My sister and I call it the 50-year war. They survived their battles. And ultimately, they had to learn to fight fair and to cut down on the name-calling, to disagree in an agreeable fashion. I pray that Alec Baldwin and all parents could learn that lesson. Whoever it was that released the tape to the public didn't do that little girl any kindness or service. We know how embarrassing it is to be bawled out by our parents. If our parents do that in front of neighbors or friends, it's even harder to bear. But when it's put before the whole world, wow, that is a rough spot to be in. But children are tough and resilient, and I pray that this little girl will weather this storm, and that her mother and her father and herself will be wiser tomorrow than they are today. And that's my prayer for you, the viewer, and for myself. God bless you.